Good evening. This is the Jordan Small Middle School Visioning Committee meeting, and I would like to call this meeting to order. The first item that we have on our agenda is the minutes from last meeting, May 5th. Has everybody had a chance to review those? Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, do I have a motion to accept?
I have a motion, we accept.
I'll second.
Second, all in favor? Unanimous.
I also approve.
Thank you, Kaylee. All right, let's get into the business end of things. So for old business, we did go to the Westbrook Community Center on Friday. And real quick, I'll make one distinction. So we went to the Gorham, which was the municipal facility, and this was the community center. And you could see a difference, in my opinion, that this was, Westbrook was focused more on setting their facility up to be a community center. And didn't have as, for example, they had originally planned on putting the town offices in that facility, but Parks and Recreation and Community quickly took over, and there was no longer any room for the town offices. They do lease out quite a few spaces to create revenue for the town, and that was pretty interesting to see how that all worked. Based on what Greg told us, their leasing rate, their rental rate is more than fair as far as being competitive and attracting people to come and use that space. Some of them start out small. As an example, they have a dance room there, and she started out with 6 students. One dropped out, so she had 5. She now has over 100. So things do seem to grow quickly. We did get quite a package from Greg. This is what they put together every week to kind of highlight what's going on. That's a lot of information. It includes a floor plan of the school and how it's used. If anybody is interested in that or hasn't had a chance to see it, it's pretty nice facility. Does anybody have any thoughts or comments? Hey, Grace?
So I have a confession to make. I believe it was Kayla that at our first meeting talked about the potential for revenue from using Jordan Small School, and in my head I felt a little negative about that thought, not thinking that that was really something that would be of community service. But after seeing what Westbrook has done, I've totally changed my mind. So my apologies for having thought negatively of that idea. The places that we're renting the spaces were all things that help support the community in various ways, and makes it very convenient. It's right there and usable and brings in some revenue. It almost offset the cost of running the facility. I think he said it was like $900,000 that he brings in revenue from not just rentals, but also, I assume, from fees and things. And it cost $1.1 million to run it. Right. So it really was substantial. And I didn't see any organizations or groups or anything that were renting spaces that wouldn't be something of interest to somebody in this community, to groups. I'm seeing other heads nod. So I'd like to kind of keep that thought in mind going forward.
Yeah, and they mentioned that they really vet who they lease to make sure that there's some common mission goals and things there. So, and they're really partnering with those organizations or small businesses that they bring into that building. So cross-promoting programming and collaborating. So it seems like it's working very well for them.
I would agree with that. I think it was the American Red Cross that was in twice a week. Westbrook is a town that's big enough to support that, and we're likely not, but to have that sort of, that building set up for that use, or that room set up for that use, I think, does a lot for the program. The other thing I really liked was how, just specifically the community gardens, they had partnered via a grant with Home Depot, I believe it was, and they paid for the materials, and then they engaged other volunteers to build everything.
Right.
But the partnership aspect to what they did really, it spoke a lot to the community feel we're trying to really make happen here.
Could add one more piece to the Westbrook thing, because Pete, you sent us talk about a mission, and I did come across, although I couldn't find it on the Westbrook Community Center site, although it's probably there somewhere, but it was under the United Way site. The Westbrook Community Center has a description of what they do, and I'm just going to read a piece of it. Through collaboration, partnering, and working together, we offer an array of community services that address the needs of persons young and old and help them find and access resources that enrich their lives. Our goal is to promote self-sufficiency and foster health and well-being. And development of the community center has been a community effort. Ideas and involvement came from all different groups and individuals. What simply needed to be done was to unlock the doors, and then came the creativity and activities, and there's more. I'll send it around later. I just came across it, and I thought that was something that we might think about for ourselves as well. But anyway, thanks.
Very good. Thank you, Grace. I did take a few pictures while we were there, too, and I'll pass them around so people want to take a look. There's actually a few of Gorham, but the rest are Westbrook. Yeah, those were from Gorham, but one of the neat spaces was this toddler space that they rent out for $250 for birthdays. So, if anybody want to take a look, and I'll pass them around.
They also, for anything that was perhaps something that people would want to keep confidential, the food pantry and their thrift shop, which looked like a mini Goodwill, it was really nice. They both have outside doors, so they don't need to interact with people otherwise in the building, which I thought was nice for privacy.
All right. I actually think we hit on most of what I had written down for notes with the discussion, so that's great. Next thing, head of town departments for space utilization. Floor plan for town hall. So Nathan, you already told me that you're working on it.
Correct.
And we will see that eventually soon, I hope. And just give us an idea of what that space looks like. But having gone to the Jordan Small School, those rooms are much bigger than I had realized when we looked at that today. I mean, there's some big spaces there. Head of town departments for space utilization of the Jordan Small Municipal Floor Plan. Town offices, so Melanie did send a write-up of things. I was hoping that we would see a floor plan of some type. I don't know if that's something you can help facilitate, Joe. What they would like to see carved out, just their vision. We did get one from code enforcement, and he included planning and assessing. So we know roughly how much space they're looking for. Based on just a few brief discussions, that's probably not the location where we're going to recommend, but it does give us some guidance, which I appreciate.
Yeah, and when talking with Chris, he said, obviously, 2 rooms configured, and then he said using the hallway space too for all the permanent documents and stuff like that as well. So hopefully it'd be front facing in the lobby, what you will need more.
Right.
So that was one thing he wanted me to make sure to mention.
Okay, thank you. And I think one of the comments that stands out for me from Melanie was that code enforcement and assessing need to be close to where the town clerks are because they interact pretty regularly.
So maybe I'll jump in here. I'm not sure where else it will fit in the agenda. I suppose it's here. I have a question. When I saw some of that, especially when I saw the code enforcement kind of saying these 2 rooms kind of a thing, is it predetermined the town hall is going to move to the Jordan Small space? Is that already a done deal, or are we open to not having that be one of the suggestions?
I don't think so. There's been talk of it, but there's been no official vote on it or anything like that. It's been anecdotally talked about. And I think that's where this committee and the next committee will come in and say yes or no.
Right.
Well, yeah, so it just feels like there are statements being made and thoughts being shared that it's a done deal, in which case I'm wondering what we're doing. because we're really trying to vision and think about what's the best possible use for something that's coming back to the town. Understood. Everybody needs more space. Town hall needs more space. There was talk, I forget how long ago, Sue mentioned it at the last meeting, I believe, of building a new town hall at one point that the town didn't go for. There's also the question of the potential new public works building that is needed that committee hasn't met yet, I don't
It's not,
think.
no.
And so might that incorporate something more that the town needs? I don't know. I'm just trying to, especially after seeing Westbrook, and I know it's an entirely different situation in terms of the demographics and the size of the town, but it just really felt like it was a community center, as somebody said earlier, that it was a place where all sorts of people from the community went for all different kinds of reasons and had something there for just about everybody and could gather together. And that was really why I wanted to be on this committee, because that's what I think this town is hoping to have. So,
I think that's why the committee was formed. They're looking for that feedback. So I've never heard in a public meeting at all. It's been amongst the department heads in the town office, and we talked about a community center, and we've talked about town office, but nothing's concrete at all.
so my other question then is what is the process actually? So this committee will make a recommendation, or possibly more than one possibilities, to the select board, and then what? The select board they said the next step was an implementation committee, which I would hope some of us would continue on and sort of having that bridge. Who ultimately makes the decision? It should be the people of the town of Raymond, in my mind, that would be voting on whatever is going forward. They certainly have to vote on whatever costs might be involved, and there'll be some costs at least, right?
I would think 100% that it'd be the taxpayers of Raymond that would going to essentially vote on what plan is brought forward to them, to what it's been, what it will become.
Okay. Okay.
I really appreciate the discussion, Grace, because I do think that, we're still trying to figure that out as far as what is this committee going to present back to the town. I think we're getting closer, but I think we still got some visioning to do.
So we've been meeting weekly, as well as taking tours, which has taken a lot of time from a lot of folks, most of all other people around the table other than I, but still all of us. And we were given 60 days. Can we extend that to really come up with good recommendations? What would that take? Was that just a proposal, or can we say we need a little more time?
Well, let's first talk around the room. Do people feel like we need more time?
I think if we're going to be getting into things like a visioning statement or a mission statement or what community service or what a community center is, we will need more time. The impression I got when we started was that we were really just at a very simple level identifying what we think could be in the community center. So I think it's our decision whether we put the town office there, but that doesn't have to be taken by the select board or anyone else.
Right.
Yeah, I believe the original charge from the select board was to find as many possibilities, the dreams, the wishes, anything that could go into this building, any possibility. And then the next, once we're done with this charge, is the next committee is going to be more of the building committee, as far as being in charge of figuring out what can go in there and what should. So I think as long as we keep piling as many ideas as possible and not limiting those, I think that'll make this next board a little bit easier to figure out those type of things.
Sure.
I'm truly not trying to derail the agenda here.
Not at
But
all.
again, it's like, where will this fit that I can bring this up? So what also occurred to me was, is there some way to capture what organizations, groups, et cetera, other than the ones we already are aware of, that would like to rent a space in that building for, that is something along the lines of helping the community, it's something that's of interest to the community. What might there be? Is there some way to capture that? I'm not sure if there are any or many, but I think that that might be another thing to try to do, if anyone has an idea around that.
And I'm wondering, I mean, do we want to go to that level of detail to actually try to survey or whatever those people, or do we want to set aside space in our plan and say that our vision is that these spaces will be used for whatever? And, just before the meeting, I was having a discussion with Bill because he had a discussion with somebody else, and it's, I'll have to go down through his notes a little bit more detail, but it's called business incubators. And that's basically what they do is they create space so that businesses can come in. They do have some contingencies, such as if we either, let you use some space or lease you some space. The idea is that eventually that business, if it prospers, will stay within the town. It's kind of like a pay. So some really good ideas there.
One of them, a
I'll try to
mushroom
get them
farm
to-
by any extent. I wonder, knowing his interest, sorry.
I think the sky's the limit on what could
Yeah.
potentially happen. I mean, it could be, electronics type
good idea.
things, or it could be hands-on type things. And then today during the tour at the Jordan Small, the kitchen in there is fabulous. I mean, that's definitely a commercial grade kitchen. I've seen a few, as my wife has worked in a few different kitchens as a chef and a culinary art person, and she would love to work in that space. And so would my son, who is also a chef. So I think that I see a lot of possibilities there for community as far as community dinners, maybe even getting a hold of some of the local chefs and having a cook-off between some chefs or something. I mean, getting people involved in something like that.
Cool.
May I? Sorry.
Oh, that's fine, Kayla. I'm
May
sorry, I didn't.
join the discussion?
Yes.
There's been a lot said in the last couple of minutes, so I'm going to try to, I don't know if I can organize my thoughts so well, but I will try. And I think, again, this has already been stated, and we're trying to figure out what exactly is our mission. But I think maybe if we try not to complicate it too much, it really is as simple as us bringing all of these ideas forward. And we give them the information collected from the surveys. We present that in the prettiest way we can. But I think realistically, it's important to remember this is going to take years to come together. We won't even get the building for until 2027.
Right.
And there's going to be a lot more public input involved, and select board direction and further committee work. And I think the work that this committee has done thus far is amazing, and a lot of effort's been put into it. And I think we just package up all those ideas, including, could it be used for town space? Absolutely, it could be, right? But I think ultimately that's going to come down to the select board and public input. So our job really is just to bring all this information together and try to package it nicely for the select board. That's my opinion, anyway.
That's good. Thank you, Kayla. All right. So I guess if I move on with what we got here on the agenda, Parks and Recreation. Joe, have you had a chance to really look at the floor plan and put your thoughts together on that?
Yes, Ryan and I did sit together and map it out. We're going to put it on a digital format because we scribbled a little too much. It wasn't as clear, so we'll get that by next meeting for sure.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And then follow up on discussion with Wyndham New Building Committee. Have you had a chance to do?
I have not been able to do that.
Okay.
I will.
Is that something you want help with?
That'd be great.
You have a
Because I did look,
contact?
the contacts aren't, they have the committee list of people on there.
And those are on their webpage?
It's on their webpage, but there was no email address, so I think maybe starting with Town Manager Barry Tibbetts might be the best approach, and he can kind of direct us to the chair and connect us that way.
Okay.
I can get that information if you want.
All right, I'll follow up with him if you like.
Thank you, Pete. That'd be great.
The charge, along with the list of folks, is on the website as well, if you
Oh, okay.
Want to even have that, I'll
Great. Thank you, Grace.
poking around.
Good. Okay. I just lost a thought for a second there. As far as more time, I'll call Rolf and just let him know what this committee is talking about and see if I can get a sense from him on whether, one, we just go ahead and package up what we've come up with, or if he wants us to try to provide a little more detail on whether or not he wants us to take more time as a select board or not. Then we'll just kind of get a feedback from him. Let's see.
I still don't see a select board meeting scheduled in June. I think it's possibly
Is that
because
the town meeting's
town meeting, yeah.
It's on their agenda for tomorrow night. It's at the bottom. They have future meeting dates. I think it's June, whatever
There was one in June.
the Tuesday is after Election Day.
Yeah, I think we're pushing it away from the election. So I think that's to be determined tomorrow.
So that by default gives us more time right there.
Right. Plus, we're going to have probably some new members on the select board to deal with as well. So, yeah, we may get an extension just because we have to work through the logistics of that.
And please, I'm not suggesting that everybody wants to be on a committee forever. Didn't
sign
mean to
up
sound
for a
like
year?
that.
And
Right.
Grace, thank you, because I was under the impression that the town hall was moving. That I've heard and then I assumed. So I'm really glad you brought it up.
Right. Yeah, me too, because I was kind of leaning in that direction as well. I mean, just from the tour we had today, we were kind of like scoping out spaces and whatnot. But yeah, I don't think anything is in stone for sure. The next thing is really use of the Jordan Small Middle School. So if everybody wants to, for a little bit of an exercise here, I do have one of the floor plans, and I've started to mark it up with some of the information we've received for wish lists. Again, not saying that that's necessarily the way it's going to be, but just a place to kind of get our visual going on different things. So if we want to, we can take a walk over to the table.
I'm going to bring out a couple of wireless microphones for you.
Okay, Bill.
So when does the architect get involved? I mean, I don't feel
That's
2% qualified.
No, that'll be
That section.
Ways out.
that'll be the next building
Yeah,
committee, and their charge. Yeah.
Okay.
And that would have to get approved as well through the.
Yeah, that would be a financial,
Yep.
There.
Big.
yeah.
Those around
From
still?
the garage was, engineering and architect was 70, 80 grand.
Oh, yeah, that's
That's not
cool.
cheap.
I know, it's nice.
Did you
Yeah,
want?
he wants us out there.
Sure.
Yeah,
we can kind of point and talk a little bit.
I was able to talk to the Jordan Small Middle School art teacher and explain to her, I wish I'd gotten pictures when we were down in Gorham, but they have a couple areas that have some pictures, but she was willing in the next couple, years to add some before the students move out, which I thought was, I don't know, I really like the artwork.
Yeah, down,
Nice artwork at Jordan Small.
Yeah.
Test.
So we didn't really know what was load bearing here. I think that was.
Well, he basically, these were added later.
It's a thrift shop. Wow.
Because these were two big open teen classrooms when they were built. That's what those, when we
My
took our
son
tour.
had the grade right there in that little space. But okay, that's fine.
So basically what we have here so far is what the library had envisioned for space, and also what Kevin Woodbury had given us for the broadcast studio and server space and whatnot. So Kevin's items are in red and the library items are in purple. And like I said, I mean, this is just what's been provided to us so that we can look at it. Did verify the scale today when we were at this. So a 1/16 of an inch equals a foot, And you can see some of these spaces, so we got 58 feet by 60, so we're almost 3,500 square feet just for one of those blocks. That's a lot of space. These classrooms here, it's deceiving, but they're 24 by 28. They're pretty big. One of the things we noticed, I think, this is a science lab, and this wall is no longer there. This is one big space. There was 2 music rooms, too. There's this one, and then there was another one
It was
down here, wasn't it?
think so.
Yeah.
Maybe this one?
This was
Oh, no,
the
no.
art room and the music room.
There's another music
There
room
is
just
another.
for strings, smaller one that's down past the art room, down that end.
Homeroom Spanish, life skills, so I don't know.
It's around, it's down there though, I saw it was
Yeah, it is down
today.
this
Yeah.
room.
And then these rooms, when you come in the side parking lot, they have the big open area where the seventh and eighth graders are there. 2 of those rooms have just removable dividers. So if you could have, the option of opening those rooms without tearing the walls down, they make huge spaces.
Yeah, because this is just one space there. This is coming in the front door, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is moves back.
Yeah. Maybe that's just a temporary, like an accordion
You can, yeah.
wall or something. Because you can see it's not a double line like these, so it's, yeah, one big room. Yeah.
I'd like to start with what makes the most sense, I think, is Kevin's request for that big space for him to build it up acoustically and for public meetings. I think that's by far the
Arts
best space for
programs,
it.
yep.
I thought it actually kind of overlapped with what the library wanted to do anyway,
Yes.
so I thought it was, kind of all tied together.
Yep.
We did also go down into the basement through this space here, and there's actually some very dry space down there for storage or whatever.
Yeah.
They're fairly good-sized rooms, 21 by 25 with an 8-foot ceiling, and 21 by 19 with a 6-foot ceiling. So some nice antique golf clubs down there.
And I know this was something IT related, the IDFs, is that like a hotspot sort of thing?
I think that's what Kevin said.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know, Bill?
I think so.
Okay. Is this a worthwhile exercise for us? Does this help, or is this the kind of thing that we do want to pass on to
I
them?
like the overlap too of different,
Yeah.
departments, even if they're saying it's the same space, seeing what their vision is, because then you can start to see a visual picture of where things might be, or some of the overlap within our departments that
Right.
we could use as a shared space, or
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to maybe mention a few of the different programs that can take place in this space, just to give the community an idea that we're considering that, we're thinking about what they're wanting. At this point, until I know how much rec needs for their programs, I have no problem, like, here's the clerk, here's where people come in to do their car registrations, maybe code and assessing can be there, and, I don't know how much space town hall would need, but I don't have any problem considering that at this point.
Right.
I don't know if they take the lockers out that are currently right in here.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that would be a good idea.
There's lockers throughout the whole,
There are some
Yeah,
lockers
a lot of
along
Yeah,
these.
against the walls in the hall,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that could be taken out, or some lockers could be used for people to keep projects in that they're working on, like if we're doing some business incubation or some co-working space, especially summer visitors or seasonal residents may want to be able to lock some things up instead of carting their projects back and forth. So some of the lockers may have some use.
Right. So when we were there today and doing our walkthrough, for me, what my vision looked like, if we were going to put town hall, would be to use this main entrance here, and then like clerks, town clerk office maybe, code enforcement and assessing right here. This storage, music storage room would be maybe a good place for a vault that could be made code and fireproof for them to lock up their stuff. This just kind of like, to me, seemed like a good entryway, and even though you got all this stuff here, but it does kind of help coexist with Park and Rec, I think.
I'll give you a spoiler alert.
Yeah.
We did, in our draft, we just said this would be a great fitness studio.
Yeah.
With our equipment there, and then offices here.
Yep.
Just to cut everything off into that section. Because you don't want to mix general public
Yeah.
with kids or programs or senior activities too much. So we had it almost cut off to right here
Okay.
as far as space in that
You'd
section.
wreck over this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so from that area
That
on.
doesn't mean admin couldn't bleed into this principal's area if they
Right.
needed it, unless you had thought,
Or that could be our, that could be rec offices or,
Yeah.
just some.
Oh, you should be right here.
but to me, that kind of makes sense.
Oh, there
that-
is an office there now.
Yeah.
We said this would be a great front desk entrance to have windows, so you could do front-facing kind of registrations or memberships. Like if you want to walk, like, all right, just check into the front desk and then walk, and you can kind of see what programs are going on in there as well.
That's what they did in Westbrook.
They have a front
They had a
desk.
front desk
Yeah.
down the hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was built right into the hall.
Yeah.
You can see where there's a picture of it in that group there. It shows it sticking into the
Bumps
hallway.
right up, yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing that is clear is these bathrooms need to be redone. They're not
Yeah, for sure.
accessible at all, or sufficient, for that matter, for the number of people that at any point in time might be there.
Yeah, and the locker rooms are really big as well. So there's
There's bathrooms in there.
bathrooms in
bathrooms
there. They're
inside
just
the
hard to get to. You have to kind of come in, and so I don't know.
We can open it up,
Yeah,
too.
possibly. Yeah, you could maybe expand that to offer more restrooms in that area. So
So you wouldn't need some sort of locker room space for anything that's going on in the gym with rec?
we
programs?
could always. I mean, what would probably be good is maybe if we are connecting these, is have a door that could lock, and then if we do have rentals, if we have basketball tournaments, things like that, it would be nice to have that locker room changing area. Especially if we have, some type of programs that require maybe some showering or something like that
So you do
during
one-
work.
one shower.
Well, yeah, there's showers already in there, and,
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's a good space, it would seem.
Would you move this door, Joe, further up so that you have access to this room in the evening? So that way you can cut this off from the rest of the building.
Yeah,
in
that
the
was
evening
our
program.
plan. And
Yeah.
the only thing that we had besides that cutoff was figuring out a permanent after-school type spot, and that's where we kind of brainstorming, like, is there rooms in here that we can kind of use, like you said, with that exit entrance. So definitely something to consider.
Wasn't there was something in the town office thoughts, if this is going to take up space in this building, that they have direct access, that they're don't have the public have to come down a hall to get to them. So I was thinking if there's going to be town offices here, that it's sort of this end of the building, which is what's leading me to wonder, is there going to be any space left for all the other ideas? Because when we go back to the list in the first list that you put together, Pete, for us from the community survey results, town hall's fourth on the list. It's community center, rec, library, town hall, daycare, et cetera. So
Yeah.
again, it's, what's the priority? In my mind, rec certainly is a priority because it has programs for both kids and adults,
Right.
including age-friendly, and is using a leased space right now that still needs renovation anyway. So, why do we want to continue to lease space if we've got this available? Not to mention it's got the gym, so that I think is used quite a bit by rec, or could be.
Yeah, I got a bunch of suggestions for seniors. It would be nice to have a room for seniors, because I was surprised how many suggestions. I put it at the bottom of the list, but it's more for programming and stuff, to have a room to entertain.
Dedicated to whatever
Right, the
kinds
coffee
of
time,
things they
the-
have, yeah.
Different other stuff.
And that's exactly what they had at Westbrook. They had a room that was a good-sized room that was set up specifically
That
for
would be
seniors.
nice. Yeah, I went down to the age-friendly window.
And there could be some
lunch and
things
that was a good
here,
setup.
or if you need luncheon space. But if you just need like crafting, socialization space, I'm sure that something in here could be worked out, because these rooms are large and probably could be divided.
Well,
Yeah.
the science lab had a little kitchen in it. I think there might have been a couple of, like, really little.
There used to be
There
a
was.
kitchen down,
That could be.
yeah, down right in this area. But I looked, I think there was maybe a refrigerator and that's it. There used to
Yeah,
be a
and
stove and a sink and stuff.
The library, you know, on Tuesdays, they have the cribbage, and they have the bridge, and they have all that, and that could be combined, and those are mostly seniors
Yeah.
that do that, so that's definitely something that could be
Would need
combined.
seats and stuff with that.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if those, because those rooms are pretty big,
I think small meeting spaces.
so that combines some of
would
the
be-
library stuff with.
Right. Large program space, smaller meeting space or programming space. I think that could be worked out.
Mm.
And then you'd have the library to help you with the booking of the spaces.
Well, you do everything online, right?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Register, pay.
We
Nobody
can
touches
do
it.
reservations, we can
Okay.
book things as well, and that's kind of about the, what's the cross relationship. Maybe there is a room that is a senior room that is also library meeting space and a luncheon area, but is, we're combining two things into
Right.
one.
Right, so you gotta coordinate, so you don't have the library rent that out, and, book it out, and you book it out.
Yeah, you want
Well, definitely
reservation.
One
We're
system.
gonna need,
Yeah.
right.
Well, again, that's where Westbrook is bigger, I get it, but there's a person and staff that do that for the whole facility, for all the programs, is my
And we may
understanding.
not be able to do that. We may have to
But maybe it's
incorporate
needed.
that into,
Maybe that's what's needed. I mean, if
I
we're
don't
supposed to
know.
vision and recommend, let's vision and
I agree.
recommend.
I agree that one
So-
system
Right.
makes
So
sense.
that's why Parks and Rec usually takes on scheduling. It's because we have that already in place in our software, and usually person was me, now it's, more Riley who's doing the scheduling for all of, even the church, where we're at, and that goes with programs even at the school and everything like that. So we have everything kind of already mapped out.
That's good, that makes sense. It does, yeah.
It's just, we have to stay organized, so
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have that
no,
process in
And that
place.
system you have is great.
I appreciate, it's a good,
It really is,
good
yeah.
rec software, and it has that facility capability, which is nice as well.
So maybe if we could get a ballpark of the current town office space now, and then you could do your
Right.
magic with how big
Yeah,
that
because like I
space
said, I
is.
mean, we know what some of these spaces are, we know what that square footage is, and we can kind of take the town offices and match that up square footage wise. So I think we're going to find that some of these spaces are so big that it's
Right.
going to easily accommodate some of those town office spaces.
Personal opinion is that the town offices, should they be put in here, because they're so customer facing, they should be towards the front of the building, whether it's this side or that side. It needs to be like the way it is now is there's one way in and you know where you have to go. So something easy and obvious.
So that's a good point you bring up, because for me, I've always gone in this entrance here, and then when you think about it, when we vote, we go here. So maybe the town office and the clerk should be close because of that.
But we
I don't
vote
know. You're
a couple
parking-
times a year, so
Right.
the parking for all the other kinds of activities is much
It's
larger
gonna be
there.
It is,
yeah.
yes.
Here,
The-
is this enough for, if
the-
town
I
entrance is
think
over
that's
here?
enough for town.
This building disappears.
Yeah, this will be
And
enough
this
parking.
becomes a parking lot, probably almost as big.
Yeah.
Yeah, because with all the activities going on between these two departments, you're gonna want that.
Large area.
Absolutely.
Especially with basketball on the weekends. I mean, we're getting pretty filled up, and that's only two teams, maybe some overlap. 3 or 4 teams coming in, so that's about over probably 150 people.
Yeah, that parking lot, I've seen it pretty filled up. It's amazing.
So is there space left for other?
Other as in
Right.
As in
office or meeting
other,
space or?
other surfaces, other spaces,
Well, the
other.
dining room
food,
is just, the dining room next to the kitchen is, I think, a fantastic space to incorporate a community space in there, I think.
It
It's
can
got
be used for a
back
lot
the
of different
stage.
things.
Yeah.
You push that, and that could be used for a lot of different, but it's a great space, a lot of light, and when you open up into the stage, into the gym, which is today, it's nice, and you got the kitchen right there, but that, I mean, that would be, I think, you know, a great spot for a community,
Especially food-related.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
and not-
but you've got
yeah.
that big space and that big space,
Yeah,
and then
right.
whichever is more appropriate for the
Right.
use.
Right.
That's
You've
right.
got that flexibility.
That's right.
I mean, and even like the comp group, they use this space a lot.
We used to use,
for
yeah, we used to do a
when they
lot of
were putting
meetings
together
there.
the comp
Yeah.
plan.
Mhm.
It worked well, I
Yeah.
thought. And then I had forgotten about it, but there is a stage right here
Yeah.
that faces out into the gym.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this one that the library had given us an idea here for a stage, but I don't
there's a
know that that's
stage
really
right here.
necessary.
Yeah.
Food pantry, medical closet.
And sometimes those things aren't necessarily taking up all the space either. It's kind of shared space. As
right.
far as like food pantry, maybe they are using some of the storage here, not taking the whole room, but then when they're
Freezers and refrigerators.
right freezers and they're using that, and then when they run, maybe they move into the dining room to exchange the food stuff. So
That's
There's
a
more
good
of-
point, yeah. Yeah.
we've gotten in Saco, there was a lot of that type of finagling and figuring out, how do we make this multi-purpose with partners and those type of relationships. So
Yeah, because they have big fridges and freezers
Oh, yeah.
in this space, yeah, so that, yeah.
I would think that where your performance space is going to be is where you're going to want your broadcasting studio
Capability.
equipment. So if you want to do performance here, I think you are
Well,
going
it's
to
already, they already wire up and do it.
Can they
It's all-
already broadcast from that room?
Yeah, they do.
The
The school does, yeah.
The school does, and when they have the town meetings in there, in the back, in the past. But yeah, they,
And future.
I think Kevin said they were all hooked up in there already.
I think that's what this IDF,
Yeah.
whatever that stands for,
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
So
for
so why
in-person
is
town
he
meetings.
wanting to
you
come
can-
into
Yes,
this
right.
room instead of that room?
Because there was already something, there was already this here, right?
no, it's
No.
because this is going to have a lot more activity.
Right.
So
Yeah. So
to have it,
putting-
away and kind of like if you want to do a town meeting and there's basketball
On,
and maybe tumble-in class or stuff like that, you want to keep as far away as possible.
Right, a select board meeting, yeah, but a
Right.
town meeting, if we,
If you
when
could
we again have
schedule it out,
in-person town meetings,
Yeah.
we would need the space.
schedule out, and you could have that
You know,
as
you're,
well.
I can nag forever. Don't stop.
Do you have hard and fast rules about keeping children separate from
It's kind
like, does this have to stay
Yeah.
separate at all times,
I-
or?
we try, and it depends. A lot of community centers it's in itself isolated from town functions, town
Westbrook did
offices.
that very well. They
Library and
had-
children's rooms are doing that. They're closing that section right off so that wandering alone solo adults aren't just kind of walking around
Just,
in there.
yeah, which is kind of why we said maybe it would make more sense to have an after-school dedicated area in this section or here that can be kind of closed off from the others, and then utilize this as a high-activity area. Again, working on scheduling. So, you want to keep it as separate as possible. Majority after-school and childcare. Other type of programs, basketball, and it's things like that where the parents are showing up is kind of different. We're not.
That reminds me, there was another thing we noticed on our tour today was this entrance here looks like it's already set up for parentals access to come and pick up kids. There's like a security system right here with a kiosk and a screen.
There's one here too.
Oh, is there?
Is there?
yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Children,
double door.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Would you
Fill in your ideas for rec.
Would you
Yeah.
consider
So we can kinda
using
see-
outdoor spaces? I mean, I know there's something here, I forget what it is.
Well, there's outdoor space out here,
It's just
too.
like a
Right.
small tree and some flowers. and-
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, it's
there
not
it
a
is. There's
memorial something?
Yeah. Not just a garden, right, with a tree and some
Yeah, not much
flowers. and-
there. Yeah, this is where the superintendent's office, so there's a tree and some flowers. But this is where the, kind of the playground
Yep.
is, so.
Right. Yeah, they were out there
It's
playing
not-
today.
That doesn't have a
Right.
lot, though.
I can fill it out if you want. I've got the layout
I would
in
love-
my head.
No, not this minute, but I would love to see you what your thoughts are, and then see what space is left.
Yeah.
And is that enough to accommodate
Yeah.
town hall needs?
So, I mean, right away, I mean, we're not changing too much. Again, I talked about this being the front desk area.
Yeah,
Service window facing this way, some type of window facing this way, so you can keep an eye on things, register, and
yep,
make sure everyone's getting the right information, where to go, and things like that. We said this would be awesome. Don't know if those are load bearing. Is to make this a programmer's office, so it could
Okay.
be age friendly. It could be programmers and have window again facing there, just so they're around this area with their activities. Everything else would ideally stay the same. I said fitness studio kind of
Yep.
area.
yep.
So then you can put your fitness equipment in here. I said probably director and assistant director's offices here. And then we also talked about maybe age-friendly on this, age-friendly or programmers. These can kind of be switched for office space.
And then you'd want to put childcare somewhere in here?
Yeah, childcare in here. We also said maybe the teen center in here. It's kind of in the middle, tucked away.
So how does that overlap with the teen zone that?
Exactly, that's an overlap for sure.
Okay.
It just would be, depending on if this, you would want more walk-in or if this
Yeah.
is more like registration based. So like we would want to make sure that we have contact information. It's childcare, but
Right.
hopefully with a spin of a teen type atmosphere.
So, and this would be a lot of collections. And then if you want to move team programming
Yep.
to that area, I
Right.
don't see any problem with that.
What do you envision, what are you talking about for teen program? When you say programming, or
After
programmers, are you
school.
talking about people that are doing the programming?
Correct,
or
you'd have
people that are
staff.
attending the programs?
So you'd have, obviously, the teens attending, but you'd have it
Teens.
staffed with, our kind of like our counselors.
Like a drop-in center for teens, kind of a concept possibly?
It's you don't really want,
Yeah, that would
if
be
you're in
super
charge
nice.
of, you kind of want to have a registration process like
Right,
a
they
summer
could still
camp.
register for,
Don't have to necessarily go there, but it can't just be like if we're getting bussed in from RSU 14 or people getting dropped off there, we want kind of like a designated time of entrance and exit, just so
But it would
parents.
be nice to have a teen room.
But
and
you
pull
won't
some
get
of our
that.
middle schoolers back.
Right, and that would be ideally a pretty nice
the
area.
hallway?
like-
Is it like social,
This is
gaming,
office.
I mean, just different things like that,
games,
hangout?
hangout
room?
couches, to,
Yep.
do, play board games or
Yep.
stuff like that, so.
is that a big enough space for that, to given that it's offices? I don't know what,
It's not bad. Yeah, it's just kind of, I think maybe you probably want like the teen director's office and then maybe see if these can be more opened up. This is just, it is kind of weird how this is,
Yeah.
Secretary meets you when you come in.
it's like the nurse's office here too, so it's kind of a awkward space, so it'd be more of a question of what's load bearing.
can we open it up?
Yeah, right.
Because we would want to close this and open the children's bathroom
Correct,
into the children's room area, so.
Could we do some sort of thing where the library piece of teens backs up to this? So there could be some sort of collaborative register, read, whatever, I don't know.
It's certainly possible. I'm sure it could be figured out.
Yeah, it's a good, I think it's a good part
Yeah.
of that collaboration piece.
Right, because there's going to be different types of after-school programs. There could be homework helpers or homework help for teens or tutoring or whatever, and then there could be just more like the social activities, hangout
Out area.
kind of stuff, so. Quiet activities, conversational activities.
That would be kind of nice near the library. I mean, that fits into the library, really.
I know that happens a lot in Wyndham. When they're out of school, they go to the library.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
It might be too many in that little space, but
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
it's definitely not out of the realm of possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could put something down, even if it's just hand scratches, just send it to
Yeah.
me and I'll put it on the board here and
Sounds good.
we'll see where things fit and where they overlap and continue to go there. And if I can get the square footage, Nathan, is there anything I can do to help you with that?
I just got to go back up for a fourth time and get it done. Every time I get set up, try to get a couple rooms done, I get hauled off to something else.
Right.
So I'll go up one night and do it. It's right.
Okay. If you want help, let me know.
Yeah. I got a little electronic thing, measure the rooms pretty quick.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Pretty good with this part of it?
Yeah. That's good. Thanks for doing this. This is great.
It's a great idea.
Take this for you.
Thank you. Thanks, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
All right. Wait for Joe to get back. Where'd my agenda go?
Is that?
So, kind of like following along in that same idea, I'm just wondering now if it would be worthwhile to take this list that we've all kind of thrown a bunch of ideas into and just kind of go through each item and identify it. Is it a community center item, or is it a town hall item? Is it park and rec? And then we can kind of categorize things that way a little bit, maybe organize it a little bit for the next committee. So if I start off with number one, the Veteran Center, Community Center.
Yep.
Basketball tournaments, park and rec. Exercise classes, park and rec. Music lessons, concerts.
That can be both rec and library. And there may be
And
some-
community center even, right, if we do concerts.
Yep.
So that's got like multiple,
Right, and it just, again, reminding folks that the school district has a lot of things as well that kids participate in. So I don't know about music lessons versus,
Right.
there might be a community band that would want to perform or something, but just to keep in mind of that.
They might take music lessons at school because they can use the music room.
And that's, yeah, they do. They have
Yeah.
music lessons, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and, and then the library does they have people come in to play.
Right.
right.
So that's definitely
And,
adults, but anyway,
outdoor
There's
concerts.
multiple things that could happen.
Yeah.
Yes,
You could
absolutely.
You could actually coordinate an outdoor concert.
that's right, yeah.
So next item, conferences. Is that like an idea for a space that we would lease?
I don't know.
Kayla offered that one.
It certainly could be.
Yeah, Kayla, please feel free to jump
Yeah,
in
can
with
you repeat what it was?
conferences.
I mean, that's community, because again, you'd be leasing out a space or renting out a space.
So did you say leasing or community center?
Yeah, I mean, you could theoretically rent space out for anybody to use.
Okay, thank you. Food pantry, community center.
Well, we did mention that might set up itself in a building that gets vacated, that moves to the
The
community
library
center.
is one of the things. we talked
Possibly
about.
library,
Right, but what
also
would-
the town
what would it
hall
fall
was
under?
mentioned.
What?
What would it fall under?
Rec and town hall?
Food pantry? I see it more of like a
Municipal,
Community center
municipal,
type thing.
yeah.
That's why I see
It's
it, too.
community support, but not as in community center. I see it more affiliated with the municipality.
yeah.
Who administers it, you mean?
Well, it's volunteer, but who,
Food pantry would be community, because I don't think the town's going to be taking on the administration of that. Just my opinion.
No.
no, but.
Right, I agree. That's the way I kind of envision
They're
it.
just looking for space, right?
Well, it's a service to the town. And to me, anytime we think of a service that supports the town or the community, that's a community service type thing.
Wasn't there discussion about that in our last meeting, about the library?
Yes.
It being,
As a possible alternative.
yeah, because most of the majority of the people that are looking for that service are in the village.
Exactly.
And I think that building's laid out pretty good for
yes.
that. That was, I think, in the discussion of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying necessarily that these items are items that we think we're going to put into that floor plan, but I'm just trying to identify
Right.
them as to whether they're community service or some, fit into some other category. Family services,
So there is a town official who handles general assistance, right, already? Heating
Yes.
and,
So that would be a municipal.
so a municipal town.
Although, who was it that mentioned, meeting with a social worker, having
Right.
privacy, something, was that Deb?
Yeah.
Yeah, that had mentioned that, and so, yeah, and I guess I just want to go back to food pantry for a minute. Why are we saying that the majority of people that use that are in that area?
That was what was brought up at the.
Oh, okay.
that came from
meeting.
the current director.
Yep.
From the current director?
Yes.
But might there be
Jordan
others
Bay,
that
too.
would
Oh, absolutely.
use it that
Absolutely.
aren't using it?
No, absolutely.
I went,
They get
yeah.
people from all around town.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
I know a lot of libraries host like supervised visits, custodial visits with children and things like that. That's a family support service. So I see that under that umbrella of just family, social services, space and support, which certainly can happen in this building.
And that could really be part of this, when we say conferences, rent, that's really,
That flexible space.
that's a
yeah.
flexible, that could fit into the family services space, yeah.
Yes.
Right. Senior space,
And the same with the senior space.
Yeah, that could be,
Library and rec will both be doing things for senior programming.
okay. Media space, tech center. And I see this separate from the broadcast studio. I
Yeah.
think this is maybe a room that gets set up so that people can come in and learn
Yeah.
software or different programs. Does that,
I see that more under the library.
yes, definitely, yeah.
So do I.
Yeah.
Except
That's
for
the
the
kind
use
of-
at by town meetings.
Right.
small businesses, definitely leased space.
Well, and I know libraries do support remote workers and entrepreneurs and those kinds of things, so.
Right. Before and after school daycare, park and rec.
Yeah.
Now, it sounded like the library does some of that as well, so is that kind of the overlap that, once, if we can get you guys in the same area, it would kind of naturally come
Some
together?
good collaboration can happen.
Yeah, it definitely depends. I mean, if you don't want too many kids in the library spaces as well, it can get a little noisy. But I think to utilize the library programs, and we've done that before. We've gone and attended one of Karen, the child librarians. I think they brought in like a hula hoop person, some other type of things, so we've utilized that.
That was after-school care that a parent routinely would have their child attend, or a program? that
We
was
would
offered?
drive there, yeah, we'd bus there to go do.
Okay, so
Yeah.
but it's still the after and before and after-school care is under rec?
Correct,
Yeah.
yes.
And that's for
consistent.
kids coming from the school that are after school. It's not,
Right, or summer
It's-
camp, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so there might be a program the library offers that you're bringing some kids to from that, but the
Right.
program itself, but the service itself, I'll call it that.
Correct, that's
with rec,
Parks
okay.
Rec. And
Yeah, most of those library programs are for the toddlers and the infants are all during the school day, though. They're-
Right,
they're-
but
Yeah.
after school, then you'll start seeing like STEM clubs, coding
Yeah.
clubs, Lego, Minecraft and all of those things.
Yeah, like Wednesday afternoons, that happens when the middle school's out early, or the elementary school gets out early, this stuff goes on there.
Yep.
All right, thrift store, community,
Yep.
blood drives, community, adult education.
That's RSU
It is.
has
That's
Wyndham
right.
Raymond Adult Ed, so it's just that, again, I'll repeat it in case people are listening to this and didn't hear it before. The programming has been in Wyndham simply because of lack of signups in Raymond, but certainly with spaces available in Raymond, and if people will sign up, then
Right. Yeah, that
there's
was a request,
extensive
yeah.
programming through the adult ed program.
Oh, yeah, and, and like you said last time, when you talked to Tom, it was we didn't get a good turnout here.
Right. But hopefully we will again, so.
Eventually, maybe,
Yeah.
Okay,
Takes time to build these programs. I mean, that's
Right.
takes time.
right. And that was the sense I got from Greg
Yeah.
Post as well, is that, you start out small, but these things have a tendency to take off. Tax assistance?
I know that happens in libraries. I don't know if it's been happening at the Raymond Library, though.
I don't think so.
Usually AARP will come in to the library and they'll offer some tax assistance.
In Bridgeton, they come into their, where they do their community lunches. Is that the town office?
Yeah, they need some privacy, I would
Yeah.
assume, for doing that. So they would need some
Right.
some available space, a
Private
certain part of the
meeting
year.
space.
Yeah.
Intergenerational meetings and events, is that all Park and Rec and Library?
Library, yep, and rec.
Warming and Emergency Center? Is that community?
Municipal?
Yeah.
It's
Municipal?
municipal, yes.
Scouts? Is that part of community?
Yep.
Lions Club?
Same.
Where the scouts meet now? They up at the Public Safety Building? Did they say they were meeting up there?
Yeah.
Public
Yeah,
safety?
they were at the Raymond Village Church, and then
They went up to the Public
now they're
Safety?
at the Public Safety Building.
Yeah, so that's good. That's good.
Cafeteria for senior meals, teaching kitchen, coffee shop?
Rec, is that rec?
Yeah, so that's definitely under rec.
Have you done senior meals?
No,
Steph, we used to do them, but I don't know what group did them.
no, we haven't. That's
Yeah,
stuff
I have
think
hopes
used
to do them.
The church did them. Oh, they,
At the church, but
Yes.
there were also some long ago held at Jordan Small, remember?
There's a line.
Yeah.
I think
Anne used to go, or we wanted her to go,
yeah.
I should say.
I feel like that's community, because you could have organizations come in and hold dinners.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things, too, Kaylee.
and it's not just for seniors, I mean,
No.
community
Right.
dinners
You
or,
can use it as fundraisers like Jordan Small Middle School did. That was really great to see.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, the fundraiser for the 8th grade.
Fundraiser,
That was awesome,
That
yes.
was amazing.
Yes,
But yeah, you definitely could be used for outside groups to raise funds,
yes,
things like that.
yeah.
We always want to do end of the season banquets for rec, for the sports teams, and we just haven't had the space to do that. That also could be something there. Kitchen.
Medical closet,
That's also community?
community?
That could pair, we talked about that could pair with Library of Things, so that could be with the library as well, as a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
If there's a
It's amazing
space.
how quickly it grows, I guess, because,
Yeah.
walkers get big and wheelchairs and beds and
Beds, oh my God, that's the, I don't know.
there's space. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think the Lone Closet in Wyndham has any beds, I don't think. That's
Oh,
kind
they
of,
can probably refer them, yeah.
yeah.
Someplace.
They have that's a nice sized space there.
Remote workspace, offices, is that a lease
could be-
opportunity?
That could be under the library.
so how many people go to the library if, in other words, people that work from home, work remotely, go to the library to work?
Yeah, because they may not have good internet connection
But I thought we were getting better internet in
at
town.
home, or
here, right up
they
through
may
the
need
village.
some tools. So, for example, when I retired, I lost my access to all my Microsoft Office tools that I used to get from work. So if I can't afford to purchase my own subscription, I can go to the library and I can make a PowerPoint and I can do my Excel spreadsheets and
Okay,
things.
but they're not like working there every day type of a situation. I
Some-
mean, that seems like
I
the
mean,
town is supporting somebody's private.
I've seen people going to
Entity.
Dunkin' Donuts and working, too.
Yeah, they can work there as long as they're not using the library for their like retail space, their storefront. But yeah, they're allowed to work there and work on their marketing and work on their online business, whatever.
Is that how the Raymond Library is being used, how those spaces?
That I do not know to the extent of that. It may be because there's not enough space there. It's pretty tight trying to use the computer space there. But I did it myself, and it helped. Definitely helped me.
I've seen people in the library using the computers, adults,
Yeah.
and sometimes with their own computers over in the corner. I don't know how often that happens, but I have seen that.
Yeah, it was tricky. One day that I went, there was a lady with her social worker, caseworker, sitting right at the table behind me, and they're discussing her personal situation, and I'm trying to build my PowerPoint for a presentation I was asked to give somewhere. And so, yeah, the space is tight.
Yeah.
But definitely the need is there for those kinds of activities.
Okay. Private spaces for counseling and support?
Well, and I mean, those private meeting spaces in the library would work for that.
Okay. Recycling, is that municipal?
Municipal, yeah.
Well, but it could also be,
Rec?
if there's going to be community garden space, that, anyway, it could be a collaborative.
Garbage to gardens or something like that?
Yeah,
Okay. Garden and greenhouses, the community space?
yeah.
Potentially supporting the food pantry. Both have all this, right? Okay. Town departments, I think pretty much all of these fall under that category of being part of the town. Does anybody see anything that doesn't?
Does animal control have a space?
Not in Raymond.
Not in Raymond?
No.
So the records are stored somewhere else?
She's a Casco employee, and she's based out of Casco.
Okay.
Is there a need for anything in Raymond in particular, or is that a good work?
Be a new question.
Is there a need for her to have office space? Is that what you're
To
asking?
the animal control office person.
Yeah.
Maybe yes. I mean, I guess it would be kind of like the sheriff's, like they have a satellite location as well here that they can at least go use the bathroom, stuff like that. So I don't know. I would have to probably ask Jessica. That's something I can do that for you guys.
Okay. Thank you. And that's kind of a good comment. I think you made it too, like the sheriff's department might need a space where they can just,
Right.
satellite.
Well, they use the public safety building, don't they? So, and they sit outside
use that
the
now.
District 2 out there, so they have I think they're all set.
All right. Because we're going to be doing a lot of teen stuff and everything up here, then maybe we want the more presence from the sheriff up this way. Okay, let's see.
They have a regular, they hang out at the fire station right here in East Raymond. They're there all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sheriff.
That's true. And then the rest of these Raymond Village Library, so that's actually separate, the library. And then tax collection and town clerk. Okay, government, all of these boards and whatnot, it seems to me that they would be the people using the broadcast studio primarily.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that they need any other space.
They need emergency session space?
What?
Yes. So when you go in, if you go into executive session, everyone has to leave
That's a good point.
here, especially in the winter time. So, yeah, that's a good point, Lori. You would probably want either to remove the committee to the executive session or have a space where
Where they could go.
people could not have to go back in the cars.
Right. Someplace probably a little soundproof.
Yes, that too.
Right. That's right. That's a good point, though.
Okay. What about the beautification committee? Do they meet? Or they come out of municipal primarily?
They were municipally based, but they don't meet anymore. Oh, there's a very small, they go on Fridays, I think. They're kind of disbanding.
Oh, no.
Well, there's no more volunteers.
So who's keeping all the flowers along
That's under Public Works.
It
now.
is now? Oh, okay.
Don McClellan's our flower guy.
Okay.
Did the Public Works fill in all the stuff around the town?
mulch?
Yeah, the mulch, sorry.
Yes, we hire a contractor.
Yeah, but I saw that, but you guys weren't doing that, because I saw your trucks out there, yeah.
We do all the sweeping on 302 and the cleanup, but we do hire somebody to
Do the thing.
actually do the
Who's
first mulch.
Who's doing the mulching now? Who is
It
it?
was a company, the guy that does the maintenance up here, Dana King, I think his name was.
Dana King?
Yeah, he lives down on Deep Cove.
Yeah, oh, he
Yep.
does that? Okay, I know him, yeah, all right. All right.
Okay. Yeah, some of these, obviously, that are listed on the town website are obsolete at this point, I would say, just looking at when they last met. I was kind of interested on this one, though. Technology Committee says that they're no longer active, but I'm sure they are, but not as maybe a formal committee. So community items, we have the churches, obviously, they're all their separate entity. Conservation groups, they probably have spaces where they're already meeting and located. Okay, so food pantry is one that we've talked about. Raymond Rattler's Snow Club, do we know where they meet?
They used to meet at Kokatosi. I'm not sure if they still do,
I don't think they do.
since the Southwick sold.
Yeah.
They do still have a website, so. We've talked about medical, scouting, parent-teacher, the PTO. Where do they meet?
Right now, I think just through Zoom. Zoom.
We
tip.
meet at a school,
Zoom?
they used to.
Yeah.
I don't know, what Kayla know?
I mean, it seems like there would be, plenty of space where if they needed to have a
Yeah, we
face-to-face
always-
meeting, that something could be provided. The Raymond Casco Historical Society, they have their own separate set of buildings, and it's fabulous.
It is.
If you haven't been down there, it's really worthwhile. Lions Club, where do you meet right now, Lori?
We meet at the Public Safety Building.
Okay. All right. And does that work? Is that adequate?
Yes. As long as there aren't any big announcements going on, big emergencies.
Right.
It's just loud.
So, Raymond Visualization, that's us, I guess, basically. Oh, this says last 2012, so this is kind of like
It's Raymond Vitalization.
revitalization, yeah.
That's, I
Yeah.
don't think that's.
Right, because
met.
like Hawthorne Community, they have their own space, right?
Yep.
Where they, and then age-friendly, we talked about them being part of this plan, right?
Yeah, well, we talked about doing something at the church, so we would need some space somewhere.
Right. And then I think the rest of these are just listed for information. Then I did have some additional items. I don't know if they're on your list, but administrative office for community center, town offices, youth-specific spaces. I think these are all things that there's the tool library, use of the roof for solar array was something that was brought up at one of our meetings. Community meals is a repeat, and then summer feeding station. So, all right, is there anything else that, because we don't have things, I think, on this list like a thrift shop.
Right.
I'm sorry, like what?
Thrift shop? Did we have that on the?
Yeah,
we did
it's
on
here
that.
somewhere.
the beginning.
Yeah, there it is, okay.
Well,
Is there some other things that we have seen now on some of our tours that we would like to include?
The pool?
The pool.
We'll let you present that part, Rick. All right, so I guess we feel pretty complete at this point, so I think I'll try to organize that in like on an Excel spreadsheet or something so that we can, hand that off as a user-friendly document for the next group.
Because I got some information about classroom use and stuff. Free
Yeah.
books we might be able to incorporate in the library.
Right.
And
Did you want to go over some of that?
Well, what I liked, one thing was the gym use for a walking track in the winter would be
That was a good idea.
fabulous, yeah.
Yes, definitely.
What do you think as far as would we be able to protect the floor in a track-like fashion?
Oh, yeah, just stay off. I mean, there's plenty of room on either side of the courts. Just make sure you don't, bring
Just
a change of shoes
tell
or
everybody to
walk
put-
around
yeah.
to the other courts. And
Yeah.
it's a pretty good-sized gym that I don't think you could,
I think it's 110 by 80 or something like that.
it's pretty big.
I like this one, too, the armchair travelers. That sounded like something
Yeah, I
that would
thought
be
that
interesting.
was nice, too.
Yeah.
And I went to Age-Friendly Wyndham had a thing down at the gym in the town hall that I went to at noontime. They had a lunch, and then someone spoke for 45 minutes, which is nice, and a babysitting course,
Yeah.
We always need babysitters, right? And CPR, and IFW I hadn't heard of, which was a nice, you could get someone in for
Yeah.
hunter safety and stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
kind of along the same lines, instead of a sheriff, a game warden or somebody like that, too, having some space. Or I know that, being the Lakes region and having a lot of lakes, there are quite a few people on the various lakes that do water monitoring. And
Right. They have
it doesn't seem to
classes
me
for
that they're
young kids
necessarily.
too, don't they?
I think so. I know you have to be certified to be a lake monitor, to do the Secchi disc and the dissolved oxygen. But they don't seem to collaborate that much except through the Lake Stewards of Maine. Might be something where if somebody, the equipment's pretty expensive that you have to buy to do that type of work. Maybe they need to collaborate, or they would maybe want some space to talk about what's going on with our lakes. Some of the lakes, one feeds into the other, like Crescent and Panther.
The Raymond Waterways, that's an
Yeah.
active organization,
Yeah,
and don't they do some of that stuff?
they do. And then a lot of lake associations do it. Like I'm part of a lake association where we do our own monitoring on our lake. So,
There's also a group that keeps an eye on Sebago Lake, too.
Right.
And, the water levels, and they communicate with,
right.
that's another
The
group.
milfoil that they have to deal with.
Yeah, the milfoil, yeah.
Yeah.
Does Raymond Rec do anything with yoga or any of that?
With the what?
Yoga, Tai Chi,
With yoga?
whatever that is?
If we had a space, yeah.
I don't do it.
That's why I think that like a fitness studio type of area is really important, because you can do yoga, you can do, the spinning classes, you can do a bunch of different programs out of that space. We thought about it at Raymond Village Church, but the floor gets a little. It's kind of hard, and it gets really salty and dirty. Because
Wyndham Raymond Adult Ed does or did anyway have those programs too.
And I took one up
yoga
there.
through them, and it
Okay.
actually was held at the Jordan Small School at that time. But
Oh, that'd be
if we had enough
great.
people to sign up, don't ask me to sign up for it this time.
I know, vending in there.
I've got a couple of years.
Others would.
Okay, I'm going to try to wrap and get us moving to our deadline here.
Ooh,
Identifying emails, thank you, Joe, for taking care of that and helping me out with that. It looks like we, do have the right people on our email list.
great.
Melanie was able to clear up that this committee wasn't necessarily a need to be sworn in. And so those other people that are part of this committee that hasn't necessarily been showing up, they can still technically be part of this committee. So
Are they getting emails?
they are getting the
Okay.
emails. Yeah. I haven't received any feedback from any of them, but, they're getting the information if they want to.
Okay.
They showed interest in being a part of it originally, so, What is the community center? We did that, I think, to some extent already. But maybe do some more of it at this week's meeting. And then identifying, duplicating, or existing items. I think we've done some of that, but maybe want to do a little bit more once we get the floor plan filled out.
Right.
I think that would make more sense to do that once we are a little more mature there. Then compiling ideas and developing a method for reporting to the select board. I think some of that is starting with, we get the floor plan. We'll create our list of ideas into an Excel spreadsheet that's user-friendly. I've been trying to keep a fairly decent notebook, which my plan is to pass this off to the next chair, so that they have the information as we've grown it. And then, so the next thing I had on this here was mission statement. And Deb, you had, I mean, Grace, you mentioned something about it at the beginning of the meeting, and Deb provided us with a write-up of her own. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Email again.
Well, I just thought that
Yeah,
as we
she sent an email.
Yeah, I just did this yesterday, sent out to everybody. So as we're presenting our results of our discussions and visioning with the select board, I thought it might be a good idea for us to also share or propose a vision statement and a mission statement for the community center, just to help really provide guidance for what we are thinking the community wants it to be. So I just quickly drafted up some vision and mission language focusing on how the community center would support individual residents, connecting them, helping them to be able to improve their lives, and then also how it can build and strengthen community as a whole as well. So if you just read through that, and if you want to use that as a jumping off point, or if we want to draft some language, kind of combining some of the good ideas that came from Westbrook's and some of the others.
I don't know why I'm not seeing that, so but I'll look.
I think it might be kind of a nice structure to provide along with our ideas, our map.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be a good idea, too. If you don't have it, Grace, I can send it to you.
Yeah, if you could. I don't know what happened.
I know, I have, I got it, I know it came, was it decollect or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever that, what is that?
That's me.
That's
That's
her.
you?
May 11th at 2:30.
Yeah, that,
That's me.
I know, I got that, I saw it. There's been a lot of emails, I've been getting all messed up here.
Yeah, I agree. I'm getting a little lost myself in sending them.
As you can imagine, Deb Clark was already taken, so
Oh, that's right, oh, yeah, so that's what you,
it's not a very unique name.
All right, so then maybe what we'll do is we'll have a chance to digest this a little bit more for next meeting, and then also the information that Grace provides us from the Westbrook, the Wyndham.
I'll email that out.
Westbrook
I think I
Okay.
saved it.
was the Westbrook, right?
I had a mission, something from Westbrook. I don't know if they called it a mission or what, but just who they are, and I'll email that around, as well as the Wyndham one, so you don't have to go looking for what their charges were, just
Yeah.
if that's of interest.
Or a purpose statement, or however it feels comfortable.
Okay, great. Next meeting is actually May 22nd, so it's Thursday, I believe, instead of Monday. And then public comments. Bill, we don't have anybody on Zoom, right?
No, we don't.
Okay.
Is Kayla all set?
Kayla's still there.
Right, and so Kayla would be part of our committee's comments, if anybody has committee comments. Any-
It's just been, I'm sorry I missed the Westbrook tour, but the tours have been great, really have,
Yeah.
including the
I think it's helped
tour
a lot.
around our office spaces and whatnot here, but
Right.
it's been really very interesting.
Right. And if anybody does need to revisit Jordan Small School, we've talked to the principal. I forget exactly what her name is.
Michelle.
Michelle, yes. And she said she would be more than happy to, open things up for us again. Take another look if we need
And
a
the
refresher.
custodians were very helpful.
Yes.
Ken was, he was,
Great.
Bill was
I-
wonderful.
yeah, I almost feel like
That
he wanted to be
night
part of the
we-
committee, so that's good.
Yeah, that worked out. That was good. I'm glad that was good.
Instead of giving comments, could I maybe request that our next agenda, we talk about the actual steps of the process moving forward of what we want to bring to the select board? To recommend some either steps or next steps, or how we're going to hand off to the next committee, or
Right,
try to join up with them a little, or?
yeah. No, that's good. Thank you. Anything else?
You go, Deb.
We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Ethan?
And all in favor? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, and thanks, Pete. Thank you.